And everybody knows what I'm talking about. And this crooked media, you talk about crooked Hillary, they're worse than she is.
At times, me and the other reporters in the room, that we are on the precipice of something potentially very bad happening.
I am a patriot, and you are a traitor.
Going for a little longer, but I think the New York Times is one of the most dishonest media outlets I've ever seen in my life. The worst. The worst. The apps, and believe me, if I become president, oh, do they have problems. They're going to have such problems. We're going to open up those libel laws so that when the New York Times writes a hit piece, which is a total disgrace, or when the Washington Post, which is there for other reasons, writes a hit piece, we can sue them and win money instead of having no chance of winning because they're totally protected. You see? With me, they're not protected because I'm not like other people. So we're going to open up those libel laws, folks, and we're going to have people sue you like you never got sued before. The fake media tried to stop us from going to the White House, but I'm president and they're not. The media is terrific, but most of it, 70%, 75%, is absolute dishonest, absolute scum. Remember that, scum.
The New York Times and CNN, among others, were excluded from today's press briefing. Now, this gets a little bit into the media weeds, but the White House is changing the terms of the deal here with the press today. Some of the senior officials here have said they are campaigning against the media. They see the media as sort of the opposition party in many cases, particularly certain outlets. The president
related issues. First of all, there was what he said about opening up the libel laws, tweeting, "The failing New York Times has disgraced the media world, gotten me wrong for 2 solid years, change the libel laws." That would require, as I understand it, a constitutional amendment. Is he really going to pursue that? Is that something he wants to pursue?
I think it's something that we've looked at, and how that gets executed or whether that goes anywhere is a different story.
I just saw your tweet. You said you're feeling like the White House is stonewalling you.
Yeah, Brooke, I wish we had some video or some audio from this briefing to share with you, but the White House mandated that we are not allowed to cover the White House press secretary for the United States of America in that fashion. You know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, Brooke, but I think that the White House for the United States of America should have these questions answered on camera so we can see what they're saying.
Late today, Mr. Trump said that the fake news media is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. But
the president, in another tweet, calling his comments modern-day presidential. This just the latest. Days ago, calling cable news host Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski crazy and dumb as a rock.
White House for us, thank you. As we've been reporting, the hosts of MSNBC's Morning Joe are now raising questions about whether the President of the United States and White House staff abused the power of the office by demanding that Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski drop their critical coverage with the threat of a nasty story about them in the National Enquirer, published by a Trump friend, that publication.
This morning with the president pouncing on the media. President Trump tweeting out this video over the weekend showing him in an old WWE clip. But in this version, you can see he is body slamming CNN. ABC's David.
The president of the United States is inciting violence against the free press.
But the president
violence. And then just this morning, and this is something we've seen from the president a number of times, he retweeted an image of a train hitting a person who had a CNN logo on the top of their head. And now, obviously, this is reminiscent of past tweets the president has sent about CNN, that wrestling tweet that got so much attention a few months ago.
Or CNN, which is so bad and so pathetic, and their ratings are going down. Right?
It's a testament to the condition of our democracy that our own president uses words infamously spoken by Joseph Stalin to describe his enemies. It bears noting that so fraught with malice was the phrase enemy of the people that even Nikita Khrushchev forbade its use. And of course, the president has it precisely backward. Despotism is the enemy of the people. The free press is the despot's enemy. What are you trying to do with these speeches?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, you can talk about crowd size, and that is pretty innocuous if there's a falsehood there. But when you reflexively refer to the press as the enemy of the people or fake news, that has real damage. It has real damage to our standing in the world. And I noted how bad it is for a president to take what was popularized by Joseph Stalin, the enemy of the people, to refer to the press. And then now, today, you have authoritarians across the world using the term fake news to justify cracking down on their opposition or to staunch legitimate debate. That's nothing we should be proud of.
On the scene, but Wolf, as he arrived here back at the White House from his trip out to North Dakota and Wisconsin, he was peppered with questions about the shooting in Annapolis. He had no comment to reporters here. You can hear some of the shouted questions. Here's how it played out.
Any words about the dead in Annapolis, Mr. President? Can you talk about the active shooters in Annapolis? Could you please talk to us about the dead reporters in Annapolis?
Mr. President, will you keep talking
Do you have any words of condolence for the families, Mr. President?
Why are you walking away?
Why won't you come and talk to us about that?
So, Wolf, you can see there the president did not answer any of those questions. One question that you heard from one reporter there made a reference to, quote, enemy of the people. We should point out, but when you refer to the members of the press as the enemy of the people, you're essentially putting targets on our backs.
Just a stunning moment today. Some 350 newspapers from coast to coast in this country, in big cities and small, standing up to President Trump's attacks, each writing editorials, most, though not all, denouncing the president's anti-media message. Here are just some of the headlines. Stop the war on a free press, that in the Philadelphia Inquirer. From Nebraska's Fall City Journal, we are not the enemy, we are your peers, friends, and neighbors. And this from the Topeka Capital Journal in Kansas. The press isn't the enemy of the people. Today on Twitter, the president fired back, attacking the Boston Globe for leading the charge on these op-eds.
These are just dishonest, terrible people. I'm telling you that. Terrible people.
It almost isn't news that President Trump launched yet another attack tonight in his relentless battle against the media, except for what else happened today. A California man was arrested for making violent threats against the Boston Globe. In one of 12 calls to the paper, Robert Chain allegedly said, "You're the enemy of the people. We're going to kill every effing one of you." Who else has been calling the media the enemy? President Trump.
I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are.
You know, CNN, fake news, MSNBC, that's really the enemy.
The president's attacks are nothing new.
Because they are the fake, disgusting news.
But the fear now is that they could fuel violence. In another call, Chain allegedly said, "As long as you keep attacking the president, I will continue to threat, harass, and annoy the Boston Globe."
New York Times reporter Kenneth Vogel shared a threat he received on voicemail. Imagine getting this message.
You're the problem. You are the enemy of the people. And although the pen might be mightier than the sword, the pen is not mightier than the AK-47. And just remember, Ken, there's nothing civil about a civil war.